And let's dive into the Raiders versus Bills matchup here going into week 2 and look at the schematic components that will decide Bills versus Raiders in week 2. I want to start with Max Crosby, who I said in a conversation with somebody today, it depends on how you define the word underrated, but if your definition is based on, how good a player is versus how much they're talked about nationally, Max Crosby has a tremendous case for being the most underrated player in the NFL. Just absolute monster coming off of both edges, right side, left side versus the pass versus the run. He's so good. His effort is relentless. He plays a ton of snaps, does not wear down, loves to go inside, loves to set you up outside and then dart inside or swipe the hands and go inside. The first schematic component that'll decide Bills versus Raiders. Can the Bills handle Max Crosby? He spent a lot of time against Denver in week 1, lined up opposite right tackle Mike McGlinchey. That's because on the other side, you got left tackle Garrett Bowles, who's a really good left tackle for the Denver Broncos. Crosby went over there from time to time, but he does not have a side that he lives on. He is side versatile. You could put him on the left. You could put him on the right. He'll go wherever the matchup is most advantageous. And if you're the Buffalo Bills, I think it's no surprise on the offensive line. If you're talking about the tackles, the most advantageous matchup, if you are a good edge rusher, is on the right side against Spencer Brown. So that first schematic component, Max Crosby against Spencer Brown. This rush here from Max Crosby, he's on the right side. You see me highlight him there. Wide alignment. Mike McGlinchey, right tackle, 69 there, #nice. Watch Crosby come off the edge and get underneath him, knock him back, and then McGlinchey's going to try and reset himself right here. So as McGlinchey goes to do that, Crosby then quickly swims over him, which drops McGlinchey, and then he gets the sack on Russell Wilson. Guy is an absolute monster off the edge, a maniac off the edge. And I mean that with as much positivity as possible. Just that is again, the power and the get off and the technique, right? Look how far Mike McGlinchey is not a small man at right tackle. Look how much he gets underneath him, drives him back, and then the reaction and the quickness to understand, okay, he's on his heels. Cool. He's going to reset. Let me hit him with that swim move. And he hits it so quickly, and McGlinchey's trying to lean forward. He just slips and falls and drops down. Just, oof. That's a quality rep. Max Crosby is one of the elite players in the NFL, not just at the edge position or defensive line, in the entire NFL. That rep right there is absolutely tremendous. Watch the rep here from Crosby, again, lined up off that right edge in a wide alignment. Lining up in that wide alignment gives you the opportunity to kind of put the offensive lineman, in this case, the right tackle, put them on an island. It gives you a better angle, allows you to generate more speed, which can convert, speed to power. But here's a nice piece. He beats him inside, and this is a move you'll see a lot. The ability for Crosby to get he gets completely into the chest of McGlinchey. He's under him right there. Gets into the chest, then chucks him. Look at the torque. McGlinchey is now completely turned over his right shoulder. He's almost horizontal instead of being in a proper posture position to be able to withstand this and be able to anchor. He's got no chance here. His feet are crossed. He's crossed over with his upper body. Crosby has him in a completely disadvantageous spot. He's torqued him. He's turned him. It's over. Crosby gets through, but he trips. Maybe even a purposeful trip as McGlinchey sticks out his foot there. But Crosby trips, slips and falls. Watch as he slips and falls. He still reaches, grabs. He gets Wilson's leg and McGlinchey's leg, and he takes them both down as the play goes on. Focus on the left side of the screen as we move forward here, and he takes them both down. And this is how he plays on every single rep. Dude is a whirling dervish of violence, of speed, of tenacity. He's such a fun player to watch. I suggest if you're ever watching a Raiders game, if it's on, or if you have, YouTube TV or whatever Sunday Ticket is on right now, and you're watching the Raiders game, just hone in on Max Crosby. He does this regularly. He wins in a variety of ways, and they're all physical. They're violent, but he's physical and violent, but he's also got good technique on top of it. And I think that's what is such an intriguing aspect of his game and makes him such a problem to deal with, because he can beat you with speed. He can beat you with power. He can beat you with violence. He can beat you with technique. He's got a tremendous swipe. He's got tremendous hand technique. Like, that's a scary piece right there. And I don't think Mike McGlinchey is an amazing right tackle. I think he got overpaid this offseason by Denver, but Crosby makes him look like absolute garbage on that play with just a real quality pass rush rep. Does he play the run? So let's show you Max Crosby playing the run. Here he is again, lined up on that right side, but from our vantage point, he's lined up on the left here again in a wide alignment. This one's funny because he comes off the ball, gets through McGlinchey, got the arms extended there. Well, he's got the hand placement there. He's about to get extended, sheds McGlinchey. Tight end runs into him. The tight end coming across runs into him. As I wind it back here, takes him on, works through him, keeps working down the line, makes the tackle on Javonte Williams. Just, again, relentlessness, high motor, tremendously conditioned athlete, problem in all three phases. Quinnen Williams was an all-pro caliber dude on the interior for the Jets in week one. Crosby is every bit of that coming off the edge. Absolute terror, absolute monster. This is a good example of, Steve in the comments earlier saying Crosby has super violent hands. Watch the hands, the placement, the activity, the power, bang, shed, bang, bangs right into that tight end coming across, and then again, runs down the running back and makes the tackle. Not an easy play. He works through two blockers, reads everything instantaneously, processes it, and then takes down Javonte Williams. Real nice piece. One more from Mr. Max Crosby. Again, lined up on that right side. Two tight ends for the Denver Broncos to that side. Watch him shoot the gap, draws the hold, still makes the tackle. Again, relentless, burst, get off, leverage, lean, tenaciousness, ferocity, darts inside. He gets held. He gets held and dragged down to the ground. Doesn't let it affect him. Plays right through it, falls down to the ground, pops back up, makes the tackle. Relentless. That's going to be a problem for the Buffalo Bills. He had a very strong performance in week one against Denver. Again, I showed you several of the plays there. He had more. I honestly could have done like a 45-minute episode just on how good Max Crosby is, but that's going to be the number one schematic piece. Can they handle Max Crosby? They're going to line him up on that right side. He's effective off that right side. Like I showed you again, you can kick him over to the left. I think he could present problems for Deion Dawkins significantly as well, but Dawkins is a better tackle than Spencer Brown is. The Raiders are going to put Max Crosby on Spencer Brown, and we're going to see how Spencer Brown holds up. And then we're going to see how, sorry, RJ. RJ says, I thought the game preview would be more positive. I hate the fact that we have to have Spencer Brown on our team. It's going to get more positive. I'm going to go into more pieces, but it starts there. So then now the comment is, okay, how do you correct for that, right? Do you put Dawson Knox on the line? Do you go with that spread gun look where you've got Chip help? Do you have Cook help out of the backfield? Do you have more Harris and Murray who are there trying to help as well? Do you have those looks where Spencer Brown knows he has help on the inside with Osiris Torrance? The good news with it overall, from the Crosby conversation is, aside from Crosby, I don't think they have really a true threat aside from Crosby on their defensive line. They took Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech early in the draft. He didn't have a really strong week in week one. Again, this is a guy who is unrefined, but he's big, he's huge, he's powerful. He can bull rush you. He can have some speed to power and knock you into the backfield, but you didn't really see a ton of activity from anyone else on the defensive line for the Raiders. They had 10 pressures in week one against Denver. 6 of them came from Max Crosby. So he is the guy to pinpoint. He is the guy to watch. That is one positive. So if you course correct for Max Crosby, it's not like, even to the Jets, right? If you're trying to course correct for Quinnen Williams, it's like, yeah, but they also have JFM. They also have Bryce Huff. They also have Jermaine Johnson. Carl Lawson didn't play, but it's like, oh, they also have Carl Lawson. You had more guys and pieces to account for. With the Raiders, no disrespect to anybody else on the defensive line, you're really just having to account for Max Crosby, which is easier schematically. So that's the first point in the first piece. Also, continue on that defensive side of the ball. They are light at the linebacker position. They're 2 starting linebackers. Robert Spillane, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, now on the Las Vegas Raiders. He's 6'1", 229 pounds. Then you have Divine Diablo, former safety from Virginia Tech, now linebacker with the Raiders. He's 6'3", 223 pounds. They're athletic. They're smaller. They play hard. They play fast. You can take advantage of them in the play action game. Suck them up into coverage, throw it behind them, and or run downhill against them. They want to shoot gaps. They're going to bang. Diablo doesn't play like he's only 223 pounds. He will take on pulling guards and pulling offensive linemen. He will get under them, and he will stick them in the backfield and or at the line of scrimmage. But you will have the size advantage against them if you are running, especially in the box. So how do you combat that? How do you attack that and, expose that potential aspect of their defense? More downhill runs, inside zone, more duo, pin and pulls. Get your bigger athletic offensive linemen onto the smaller, lighter linebackers. And again, lighter and smaller from a frame and weight perspective overall, of the Raiders. I think this is an advantage run week if you are the Buffalo Bills. You're going to get penetration from the front. They're going to stunt their defensive line. Again, guys like Crosby are going to want to dart inside. They're going to, you get more aggressive. They got more aggressive as the game went on against Denver. So you will see some aggressive nature from their defense as a whole. You'll see blitzes. You will see slot blitzes. You'll see run stunts. You'll see run blitzes. You'll see that aspect again. They're a penetrating, aggressive front. They want to get through gaps and cause havoc and chaos, but they are not the most skilled defensive line, and they are more of a smaller, lighter group at the linebacker spot. I think the Bills have the advantage from a skill perspective in the trenches, offensively versus the Raiders defense, and from a size perspective. You should be able to grind them down, wear them down, get after them, and go forward. I also mentioned that play action piece, right? So Russell Wilson, he was only pressured on 21.6% of his snaps against the Raiders. But Denver used a lot of quick game, first and foremost, kind of like what the Bills did early against the Jets, thing Allen got away from. So again, Wilson was only pressured on 21.6% of his snaps against Denver, which is low, but they used a lot of quick game and they used play action. Russell Wilson's time to throw in week 1 was 2.74 seconds, which isn't very long. And that's with him having several reps where he was scrambling and doing Russell Wilson things. Russell Wilson in Denver used play action on 32.4% of their pass snaps in week 1 against the Raiders. For reference, the Bills used play action on only 14% of their snaps versus the Jets. When the Bills did go play action against the Jets, they were on the whole successful. Allen was 5 of 5 on 7 dropbacks, although he was pressured twice and sacked twice. He had a rating of 109.2, which is very good. Russell Wilson versus the Raiders on play action in week 1, 7 of 11 on 12 dropbacks, 2 pressures, no sacks, 115.5 rating. Get some play action against the Raiders, especially if you can get under center play action. The Raiders' number 1 coverage that they used in week 1 was cover 3. You can attack the seams. You can use those sail concepts. You can get them in some high lows and pound the flats, right? And attack those vulnerable spots in cover 3. But those linebackers, they will get sucked up. That safety that's spinning down, usually it's going to be Trevon Merrick of the Texas Christian University, TCU, former Horned Frog, now a Las Vegas Raider. He's usually that safety that's spinning down in those cover 3 looks. If he does that, cool, he'll suck up in that run game. Diablo will get sucked up in that run action. So will Robert Spillane. And when that happens, especially when it's under center play action, right? Account for Max Crosby, which is easier said than done. Play action, suck those linebackers up, hit those overs, hit those in breakers, hit those pieces. The Bills have an opportunity to generate chunk plays against this Raiders defense because of the roster build out for the Raiders defense combined with schematically how they play from a cover 3 perspective. So there will be opportunities there. Now, another piece that I want to mention, again, the Raiders won in week 1, but and some of this is part Russell Wilson as well, but as I pull up some charts here, I'm going to pull up Russell Wilson's passing charts from week 1. And again, some of this is dictated by what the Raiders did defensively to force this. But let's share the screen here. Let's show. Boom. There we go. That's Russell Wilson's passing chart from week 1 against the Raiders. 27 to 34, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. 19 of Wilson's 34 attempts were between 0 to 9 yards. And there's his passing chart there. You can see, again, not a ton in the middle of the field. Look where a lot of his completions and his targets were. Around that 10-yard mark, underneath, in the flats, outside the hashes. That's where there's going to be vulnerabilities in that cover 3 spot. You can kind of force that flat defender and that deep third defender. Who's got who? You can play off those high lows. You can create some leverage with motion, either fast motion or surge motion right at the snap, or kind of rearranging some things. You can use stacks and bunches and trips and create leverage and get out in front of their guys early. They're not the best with match coverage, and they will try that from time to time. So if you look where Russell Wilson attacked them, I think it's a good place to start. But then when you have the skill set at receiver that the Bills do, at tight end the Bills do, the potential mismatches that you have there combined with Allen's arm, I think you should see more attacking in the middle of the field. So the flats and the underneath is going to be available. I think you got to start with that early. You have to suck up that Raiders defense. You have to force them to honor the underneath, to honor the flat routes. And then as the game progresses, then you can start to attack, 10 to 15, 10 to 20, maybe 20 plus. You can attack the seams. You can attack over the middle. I think the opportunity for Allen, given his arm strength and his size, again, Russ isn't the biggest dude, so he's not the guy who's attacking that over the middle area. If you see that availability for Allen, get some under center play action. You suck in Diablo and Spillane, those linebackers, and then you hit those over routes or those in breakers or those seams at 10, 12, 13, 14 yards. You put that single high post safety into conflict, look them off. If you're Josh Allen, hit him the other way. Allen has the size and the arm to work that area of the field that Russell Wilson does not. Oh, also, really good stat poll from Kendall Mursky. Hey, Kendall. Kendall says the Raiders pressured the QB on 18.2% of play action dropbacks in week one. That was the sixth lowest rate in the NFL in that week one area. So nice stat poll there, Kendall. So again, you want to put things together. You look at the vulnerability of the Raiders defense, the cover three, how they react to run action, and then how little they pressured the QB on play action dropbacks in week one. That's a recipe for success. And again, Josh Allen is a very good play action quarterback, as most quarterbacks are. Most quarterbacks are usually more successful with play action than they are just regular straight up dropbacks. Attack with play action, attack with the run. It should be a very simple philosophy. Raiders also like to use their nickel coverages. Marcus Peters, Hobbs is their nickel corner, and Bennett is their other corner. They're going to be a nickel. Hobbs is a really tiny guy. He's fast. He's bursty. It's going to be a matchup problem if he's got to cover Dalton Kincaid or he's got to cover Dawson Knox. He's feisty and tenacity. He's going to look to penetrate and shoot gaps against the run. So he's not somebody that he's not soft, but he is smaller. You can take advantage of that matchup piece. So run it right at them, run it down their throats, take advantage of the size and the power that you have up front, and maybe even the talent advantage that you have in the box against the Raiders, then work in that play action, specifically that under center play action. But I think you could also tie in some RPO looks. Again, Diablo and Spillane are very reactive. They will come forward, take advantage of them over the middle of the field, work the flats as well, make them have to honor those pieces and come up and take shots and chunk plays as the game goes on. This is another game against the Raiders defense where you have to stay patient early and then start to reap what you sow and reap the benefits later on in the game. Another piece I want to mention against the Raiders. So the Raiders, no blitzes for the Raiders on 78.4% of their snaps versus Denver. Like I mentioned earlier, that's similar to what the Jets did to the Bills in week one. The Jets didn't blitz Allen on 78% of dropbacks. Again, on those dropbacks for Allen, a rating of 48.4, 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown, 2.97 seconds average time to throw, 5.1 yards per attempt, and a 63.6 completion percentage. So not blitzing hurt Allen and the Bills last night against the Jets. But again, also it's tied to the Jets having a tremendous front four and their ability to get after you with just using their front four. The Raiders do not have a similar front to the Jets in any way, shape, or form. We showed those Max Crosby highlights earlier in this episode. Crosby is an absolute monster. He is absolutely tremendous. He is someone to be feared. He is someone to be respected in every way, shape, and form. But they don't have the depth on the rest of that defensive line like the Jets do. So course correct for Crosby, take advantage of the linebackers and the size, and you could have a recipe for success if you are the Buffalo Bills offense.